So here we have, as you would have heard, we have banks, and this time we've added end investors, as we call them, the pension funds. We don't need to explain that one. You know, they're big institutional investors anywhere in the world. So we're happy to have them here, and it makes the meeting more robust. The Central Bank of Nigeria was also supposed to be present, but as you know, the Monetary Policy Committee meeting starts today. But they have given some feedback regarding some matter which we will present later. And if follow up is required, we will do that. Um, Most of you, I'm seeing many new faces at this meeting, but most of you would know that this is our second meeting of the year. We had one earlier in the year where we talked about the DMO's borrowing plan for the year 2024. When I said DMO's borrowing plan, it's actually the FGN's borrowing plan, where we told you what we were doing from the budget, because that's the principal document for the new borrowing, refinancing, because we have treasury bills that always mature. And then we talked about raising money for um, ways and means. Some people here were present. I think that was the main part of the discussion, where we talked about ways and means and how we can put that in order. And I think at that meeting we did say that, just to recap, the budget has 6 trillion of domestic borrowing, meaning new borrowing, not refinancing. And then the ways and means at that time, there was 7.3 trillion naira that the National Assembly had approved for securitization. So, like I always say, the ways and means is not uh, it's not something that is not familiar. It's basically the government's account overdrawn, and the central bank saying you've exceeded your limit, put it in order. So when we raise those funds, they go to reduce that overdraft balance. So it's a slightly different strategy from the one we did in 2023. In 2023, when it was 22.719 million, we had just one a trillion naira. We had just one investor, that was the central bank. So we didn't need to, come have a nice meeting and like we're having today or like we had earlier in the year. So this one is a bit different, but let's see how it goes. So I'm happy to say that from that meeting with your support, as you know, the DMO is very much market facing, whether local or international. So uh, we're not like what some of those government agencies that are largely serving internally. We have to borrow, so we don't have a choice but to meet with you as well as international investors. So we're happy that with your support for the new domestic borrowing in the 2024 budget, which I said was 6 trillion naira, we actually have raised 4.5 trillion naira out of that. So it's not our money. You gave us money, and we'd like to thank you for that. For the ways and means, the last time we talked about how we fund it, your own money, excess cash reserves. Since then, a lot has happened. So out of that 7.3 trillion naira that the National Assembly approved for securitization, we have raised 4.905. So I'm giving you figures as at Friday. Mm. We have raised 4.905. So there's still a balance in both cases. So let's see how the rest of the year goes. But let me quickly add that the Nigerian domestic securities market remains a major source of funding for the federal government, really. And we cannot but appreciate the work that we have done collectively all these years. That's why, COVID came, countries couldn't go to the international capital markets. The markets were closed anyway. But we were able to raise the full amount and even more that we needed to fund the budget. And that has been the case. If you think about it, last year we raised 7 trillion naira, as new domestic borrowing. So it speaks to the size of our market, the resilience, and then the sophistication, really. That's not the case for a number of countries in Africa. Some of them don't have a yield curve that extends to 5 years, talk less of the depth. So I think we should really appreciate how far we have come as a financial sector. But we're happy that it's not only the FGM that has benefited. So many financial institutions, banks have also tapped the market. I see mainly commercial papers. I'm not sure about bonds. But we've also seen corporates, and we are excited about all of those developments. So, coming close to the end of my opening remarks, today's meeting is another strategic meeting. Usually, as things evolve, even when they're working perfectly, there are times you need to sit back and look at one or two developments and decide how where you go from there. So it's still another strategic meeting, and after the opening remarks, we'll get straight to that business. So it's basically look at where we are and try to chart a course for the future. Um, Once again, I'd like to thank you for coming. Thank you very much.